a $9 ticket that probably never even existed. But the real story is 1,000 times bigger than that fake ticket ever was. This is the story of the win that shook an entire nation, and what I found when I dug into the truth will surprise you. Forget the fake headlines circulating online. Eala's real impact was much bigger than any invented ticket price. The evidence wasn't in some fabricated $9 seat, it was in what happened across center court, across international media, and across an entire nation watching from thousands of miles away. The number circulating online is fake. But the real story is so powerful it doesn't need a made-up number to matter. This story starts on center court, spreads across global media, and ends up reaching an entire country watching from thousands of miles away. Today, we're tracing the full chain reaction that Eala's Wimbledon 2026 run set off. Iga Swiatek, 6-time Grand Slam champion, defending Wimbledon queen, had demolished her opponent 6-0 in last year's final. Now picture this, a 21-year-old, playing her first ever Grand Slam seeding, standing across the net from her. Everyone assumed the match would be over fast. But on July 4, 2026, what actually happened, nobody saw coming. Eala, the tournament's 29th seed, won the first set in a marathon tiebreak, 7-6, saving 2 set points along the way. Then she closed out the second set 6-2. The entire match lasted just 2 hours and 14 minutes, but its impact was going to last for years. This was the biggest win of Eala's career, and the tournament's biggest upset. Swiatek made twice as many unforced errors as her opponent. Eala won 68% of points on Swiatek's second serve. This wasn't a fluke or a nervy scoreline, it was a dominant performance against one of the most decorated players in the sport. After the win, Eala dropped to her knees on center court. In her on-court interview she said, "I don't know how to describe it. I've never been to the second week of a Grand Slam and it's amazing for me." She became the first player from the Philippines, man or woman, to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam singles tournament. But this wasn't just a tennis win. It set off something much bigger. And what happened next, nobody could have predicted. This one match changed everything. Not just the fans watching, but people who had never followed tennis in their lives were suddenly pulling up highlights on their phones. And once the media chain reaction kicked off, a new question emerged. If Europe and America were reacting this fast, what was happening back home in the Philippines? Media outlets around the world jumped on the story. Reuters covered it directly, reporting on Eala's rise and her win over the defending champion. ESPN published a detailed tactical breakdown of exactly how Eala dismantled Swiatek's game, pointing out that she preyed on a vulnerability that had crept into Swiatek's game over the past year. Sky Sports, the Boston Globe, Yahoo Sports, and the National all ran feature pieces on the match. Wimbledon's own channels highlighted it as one of the tournament's defining moments, alongside the same-day upset of 2022 champion Elena Rybakina, who lost to Elise Mertens. This one match didn't just change a scoreline, it raised a question that would follow global sports media for days. If a 21-year-old, playing her first Grand Slam seeding, could beat a defending champion, what was going to happen next? Reporters who had never covered Philippine sports before suddenly needed to learn how to pronounce her name correctly, needed to know her backstory, needed to explain to their audiences why this mattered so much. By the time the win had spread across the news cycle, Eala's Instagram following had climbed to 1.1 million. Swiatek herself addressed the loss in her press conference. "I think it was tougher mentally for me to accept these missed returns from the slow serves. I got to say it's much tougher to return a serve like that than a normal serve." One match had shifted the entire conversation around the tournament, from who would defend the women's title, to who this new player from the Philippines actually was. A standing ovation after a loss sounds strange. But the real reason behind it will get to you emotionally. 2 days after beating Swiatek, Eala faced Jasmine Paolini, the 13th seed and a 2024 Wimbledon finalist. The match ran 2 hours and 22 minutes across 3 sets. Paolini took the first set 6-4, Eala leveled it 6-4, but Paolini closed it out 6-3 in the decider. Despite the loss, center court rose to give Eala a standing ovation as she walked off blowing kisses to the crowd. Sitting in the royal box that day were Roger Federer and Billie Jean King, 2 of the sport's biggest legends, watching a 21-year-old play her first Grand Slam 4th round. With that match, Eala became the first Filipino in the Open era to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam, surpassing the previous benchmark set by Felicissimo Ampon at the 1953 French Open. After the match, all she said was, "So many positives." The Philippine news agency wrote that the standing ovation, despite her 4th round exit, said it all. Paolini herself praised the atmosphere. "Stepping on this court is something special, and I was looking forward to it. There is an amazing atmosphere." People kept talking about Eala even after the loss. Because the result didn't erase the history, it confirmed she now belonged among the sports elite. Eala became bigger than one player. At PhilSports Arena in Pasig City, thousands gathered for free live screenings of her matches. For her fourth-round match against Paolini alone, roughly 8,000 fans packed the venue, according to reports from the watch party. A well-known superfan known as Kuya Barong, recognized for wearing a traditional barong and salakot while waving the Philippine flag at sporting events, said in Filipino, "She unifies Filipinos." The scene drew direct comparisons to the peak years of Manny Pacquiao, when the entire country would come to a standstill during his fights. Filipino communities overseas organized their own viewing parties to follow her run live from London. After beating Swiatek, Eala reflected on this connection herself. "I think we're just very proud of where we come from. We have a really strong sense of community, and you can see it whenever someone succeeds." President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. even posted about her run, writing, "Thank you, Eala, for proving that no dream is beyond the reach of a Filipino who dares to dream and works for it. The whole nation is proud of you. You will always be our champion." For the first time in the Open era, millions felt connected to Wimbledon because a Filipino player was writing history on the sport's biggest stage. Even sports business insiders had their eyes on Eala after that loss. Because when a player makes headlines even in defeat, brands and sponsors immediately understand, this isn't just a good player, this is a movement. In an era where athletes are built as much by attention as by trophies, a standing ovation after a loss can sometimes be worth more than the win itself. This wasn't just an emotional story. Real money and real deals started moving behind the scenes too. Brands and the tennis world are watching Eala closely because her commercial profile has grown alongside her results. She's held a sponsorship with Nike for apparel and footwear for several years, alongside a racket partnership with Babolat. In the Philippines, she's an ambassador for Globe Telecom, a relationship that began when she was just 8 years old, as well as for the Bank of the Philippine Islands and locally Juice. Tony Nadal, the inaugural director of the Rafa Nadal Academy where Eala trained, said after her breakthrough Miami run in 2025, "For the Academy and for me in particular, it's a huge success. She's shown she has great potential because it's not easy to beat the world's number 2 and number 5 in the same tournament." But here's something worth clarifying directly. The claim about a $45 million deal with Wilson Sporting Goods was completely fake. Rappler, a fact-checking outlet, confirmed no such contract exists. Her actual confirmed prize money for the 2026 season stood at more than $871,000 before Wimbledon even began. Her real commercial value isn't growing from invented viral numbers, it's growing from verified partnerships tied directly to her rising results on tour. But sponsorship deals are only one side of it. The real question is whether the numbers behind all this, ranking, prize money, match records, tell a story just as impressive as the emotional moments. And once you see these numbers, you'll realize this wasn't just a good Wimbledon run. Numbers alone can feel dry, so let's put them next to something real. A year ago, nobody outside serious tennis circles could have picked Eala out of a lineup. Today, sponsors are lining up, a president is posting about her on social media, and legends are showing up in the royal box just to watch her play. That's the gap between where she started this year and where she stands right now. A year ago, Eala was ranked world number 140, basically unknown. Going into Wimbledon, she was the 32nd ranked player and the tournament's 29th seed, the first Grand Slam seeding of her career. After beating Swiatek, she climbed to a projected live ranking of number 28, matching her existing career high. A win over Paolini would have pushed her as high as number 23. For reaching the round of 16, she earned 240 WTA ranking points and roughly $396,100 in prize money. That jump is like a college team suddenly making the NBA playoffs. And behind it isn't just luck. Her overall 2026 grasscourt record stood at 12 wins and 4 losses, including a WTA 125 title in Birmingham and a semi-final run at the Berlin Open, where she beat 2 top 10 opponents. Her career record against top 10 players improved to 7 wins and 4 losses after the Swiatek result. She finished 2025 with a career-high ranking of number 50. These numbers aren't just a scoreboard. They're proof that what we saw on center court wasn't a one-off miracle. It's a pattern that's been building for months, and now the whole world is watching it. Think about that trajectory for a second. 12 months ago, almost nobody outside the Philippines and hardcore tennis circles had heard her name. Now she's beaten a defending Grand Slam champion on the sport's most famous court, in front of royalty, in front of legends, in front of millions watching at home. That's not the kind of climb that happens by accident. It's the kind of climb that happens when talent finally meets opportunity at exactly the right moment. So the question is, was Wimbledon just one chapter, Or is this the beginning of a story that's still being written? According to ESPN, Eala is expected to begin her hardcourt season at the Wimbledon DC Open in Washington, D.C., scheduled from July 27 to August 2. From there, the North American hardcourt swing continues through the Canadian Open and the Cincinnati Open, both key tune-up events ahead of the season's final Grand Slam. Then comes the US Open, a tournament where Eala already holds Grand Slam junior history, having won the girls' singles title there in 2022. Her climb through the rankings across 2026, from number 140 a year earlier to a projected number 28 after Wimbledon, puts a spot inside the world's top 20 firmly within reach, if her grasscourt form carries over to hard courts. And here's the thing about hard courts: they reward exactly the kind of aggressive flat-hitting game that Eala already plays. If anything, her best surface might still be ahead of her. Every big story has a turning point, a moment when everything starts to change. For Eala, maybe that moment was July 4, 2026, when she beat IGA Swiatek on center court. Or maybe the real turning point is still ahead, at the US Open, or at whichever tournament finally breaks her into the top 20. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: the story that started with a fake $9 ticket has now become the story of an entire nation's history. And as long as Eala keeps playing, that story is still being written. She didn't leave Wimbledon with the trophy. She left with the attention of the entire tennis world. Some players win championships. A few players change the direction of the sport in their home country. Alexandra Eala became the first Filipino in the Open era to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam, beat a defending champion on center court, and turned a basketball-obsessed nation into tennis believers, all within 10 days in London. The biggest question now isn't what she's already achieved on court, or even how much her Instagram following has grown, or how many brands now want her name on their products. The biggest question is simple: does Wimbledon become the turning point of her entire career, or just one outstanding chapter within a much longer story still being written? 10 days ago, most of the world had never heard her name. Now they're waiting to see what she does next. The question isn't what Alex has already achieved. It's whether you think she'll go even further. Let me know in the comments.